FIFA condemns as well the use of force by Russia in Ukraine. Violence is never a solution.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 athletes banned from tournaments.
It's the most vicious decision coming, as it has done so soon after the UEFA decision.
For this list, we'll be looking at infamous incidents that led to athletes, teams, and/or countries being banned from specific sporting tournaments and leagues. We'll explore what controversial moment led to the ban and the aftermath. Which ban do you believe was justified? Let us know below. Number 10. Iran's women's team. At the 2010 Youth Olympics, the Iranian women's side was forbidden from the competition due to wearing headscarves. FIFA seemingly thought the clothing was either dangerous in the sport or had a political, religious, or personal message.
Despite the bad news, the players are not giving up.
From here, Iran's Football Federation began discussing with FIFA to allow their various women's teams to wear the item of clothing. So they compromised by allowing the women to use a headscarf that didn't cover the neck.
It's a part of a Muslim women's identity. Sports like taekwondo and rugby allow the headscarf to be worn during their competitive matches. And for the world game, for the universal language that is football, to ban a headscarf which will prevent many women from participating in a sport, it doesn't make sense.
Well, FIFA backtracked and banned hijabs once again. In 2010, the Football Authority blocked the women's team from international competitions. This meant they couldn't face Jordan to qualify for the 2012 Summer Olympic Games. In 2012, FIFA did another U-turn and lifted the restriction.
We are responsible for football and we are making decisions with the IFAB when it's about football, and that was purely a football issue. Do we allow women who cannot play today because they are not authorized to have a headscarf? Do we allow these women today to have this piece of equipment in order for them to access football?
Number 9. LIV Golfers. In 2021, the LIV Golf Tour was formed. Backed by cash from the Saudi Arabian monarchy, the competition was slated by many who pointed at the country's iffy human rights record.
And in the view of the Washington Post, what we're seeing is a government trying to use golf to cleanse its global reputation. Or Amnesty International says it's yet one more event in a series of sports washing exercises that the Saudi authorities are using to clean its blood-soaked image.
To dabble in a bit of sports washing, the tour began offering pro golfers piles of money to compete in 2022. According to Tiger Woods, who turned down the deal, he was offered an incentive in the high 9 figures. However, several big names in the golfing world signed on the dotted line, like Phil Mickelson, Ian Poulter, Charles Schwartzel, and Dustin Johnson.
I love this game of golf. I've seen the good that it's done, and I see the opportunity for LIV Golf to do a lot of good for the game throughout the world, and I'm excited to be a part of this opportunity.
Well, the PGA Tour didn't like this one bit. They immediately suspended any golfers that agreed to participate in the LIV competition from their tour events and even the President's Cup.
The PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan has said for months he would act in the best interests of the PGA Tour, and now we know there will be disciplinary action facing those players.
Number 8. Roger Brown.
I'd have to say Brown is the greatest high school player I've ever seen anytime, anywhere.
Imagine being barred from a whole league just for knowing someone that had done something shady. Well, that's exactly the case for basketball small forward Roger Brown. While playing for the University of Dayton, Brown had been introduced to Jack Molinas, a basketball pro and known gambler. Simply for meeting the controversial figure, Brown was prohibited from playing in the NCAA and NBA.
He was robbed of his prime years. Those were all-star years. Those were history-making years.
Fortunately, he was able to play in the ABA, and Brown soon made a legendary name for himself for teams like the Indiana Pacers and Utah Stars, becoming a 4-time All-Star along the way.
Called by some the new Elgin Baylor, Brown is the toughest player in the ABA one-on-one. His moves mesmerized the opposition.
Number 7. English football clubs.
30th holding of this final has been marred before it starts.
What should have been a celebration of their team's achievements turned into disaster in moments. In 1985, Juventus and Liverpool were set to face off in the final of the European Cup at Hazel Stadium in Belgium. Before kickoff, English fans seemingly broke down a separation fence and charged Juventus spectators. The pressure of all those people caused it to collapse. Hundreds were injured and 39 lives were lost.
At 9:45, 2 hours and 15 minutes after the collapse of the wall, the two teams came back onto the pitch.
I think if you're brought up in the right way and the chief of police says, actually, you have to do this, I think 99% of the public go, right, we have to do this. I think if we'd been a bit stronger and said, well, actually, no, but if he's saying we've got to play and Juventus are saying they're going to play, then we should play. But I think now you kind of think, well, actually, hold on a minute, that was complete rubbish.
As a result, UEFA banned all English clubs from competing in all European competitions indefinitely. That included the European Cup, the European Cup Winners' Cup, and the UEFA Cup.
And we will certainly appeal against it.
Is it going to hinder the development of British football?
I would think so.
But don't you think some action had to be taken after what happened?
We thought it was sufficient that UEFA should take the action.
It took 5 years until the ban was lifted. Liverpool, however, had to wait an extra year to be allowed back in. Number 6, Ben Johnson. In the 1980s, there was no one that was carrying the weight of Canadian athletic excitement and expectations more than sprinter Ben Johnson. And he repaid that faith by smashing records and grabbing gold medals. However, shortly after winning big at the 1987 World Championships and 1988 Summer Olympics, performance-enhancing substances were found in his system.
Johnson's urine sample, tested twice in this laboratory, came up positive both times.
After an investigation, Johnson, who admitted to doping since 1981, was stripped of his Olympic gold medal. He was then suspended for 2 years.
I'm absolutely astonished that anybody of that caliber should try and take anabolic steroids. He knew that with any luck, he was going to get a placing, and we all know that the first, second, and third are drug tested. So I cannot understand why he took such a risk.
After making his comeback in 1991, he once again failed a test in 1993 and was banned for life. He attempted to be reinstated, but to no avail.
I dope and I'm sorry. I have to live with that.
Number 5, Rob Sloan. At the 2011 Kielder Marathon in England, avid runner Rob Sloan managed to win a bronze medal.
This is the moment Rob Sloan crossed the line at the Kielder Marathon and walked into a media storm that's made him Britain's most notorious runner.
However, it turned out Sloan took shortcuts. Instead of doping, we meant public transport. At around the 20-mile point of the race, he got on a bus, rode it to near the finish line, hopped off, and crossed the line.
We were on the bus taking us up to the finish line, and we saw some guy running by the side of the bus trying to flag the bus down.
So he sort of slammed on the brakes, and the guy jogged to catch up and got on the bus, and he had a running shirt on and obviously covered in mud and wet and had his number on, so we knew he'd been a participant in the marathon.
After the allegations came out, Sloan's medal was taken back, and he was also banned from a host of races in Northumberland. But a year later, Sloan, in disguise and under his friend's name, reportedly took part in the Great North Run. Number 4, Shane Meal. Shane Meal was carving out a name for himself in the NASCAR world. However, in 2005, having already flopped one drug test, he failed another, earning a second strike and an indefinite ban. But there was a silver lining. If Meal underwent reviews and testing, he could be reinstated.
Everything was not fixed. Shane admits he raced back into NASCAR without addressing his drug addiction.
But he failed to do this once again. This time, he was banned for life from NASCAR events.
I thought what I was doing was right. It wasn't. I was not a good human being. I was not doing the right thing.
Shortly after this, Meal got his life in order and went to rehab to get clean. He then got involved in racing various United States Auto Club events. Sadly, in 2010, Meal was in a horrific crash that's left him in a wheelchair ever since.
He's always got a smile on his face. He's always working as hard as they can. Never quit, no matter how bad it gets. Just keep digging. That's all you can do.
Number 3, Frank Filchock. In 1946, the NFL title game between the New York Giants and Chicago Bears was set to go ahead. However, hours before kickoff, accusations that Giants players had been approached by gamblers to fix the match came out. One of those players was quarterback Frank Filchock, who denied the allegations. The Giants, along with Filchock, lost the game. This only raised suspicions. However, during the trial, one of the gamblers claimed Filchock was involved in the scam. But even with the lack of evidence, the NFL chose to indefinitely ban the quarterback. So Filchak went off to Canada and played football there. In 1950, his NFL blockade was lifted. After a season in the States, Filchak returned north to finish his career. Number 2. Novak Djokovic. In 2022, Serbian tennis player Novak Djokovic was meant to take part in the Australian Open to defend his 2021 men's singles crown. Djokovic, however, was, and still is, unvaccinated. Even though Djokovic had been given an exemption from the vaccine rule by tennis authorities, the country's government had not.
We await his presentation and what evidence he provides to support that. If that evidence is insufficient, then he won't be treated any different to anyone else, and he'll be on the next plane home.
After some flip-flopping, Djokovic's visa was ultimately denied entry in the country of Australia, barring him from participating in the tournament.
Mr. Djokovic failed to provide appropriate evidence to meet the entry requirements to Australia, and visa has been subsequently cancelled. So it's a matter for him whether he wishes to appeal that, but if a visa is cancelled, somebody will have to leave the country.
Then the U.S. followed suit as Djokovic was banned from playing in the Miami Open and the Indian Wells Masters. The Serbian then withdrew from the U.S. Open.
And I understand that not being vaccinated today, I'm unable to travel to most of the tournaments at the moment.
And that's the price you're willing to pay?
That is the price that I'm willing to pay.
His ban in Australia was later overturned. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Russia. In 2022, Russia shocked the world by invading Ukraine. With that, the sports world watched on uncomfortably. The country's football team was meant to take on Poland in a qualifying match for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. However, Poland and several other nations refused to take part in any competitions with Russia. To begin with, FIFA gave Russia a gentle slap on the wrist by banning international competitions within its borders and blocking them from playing under their country's name.
They're going to have to call themselves the Football Union of Russia. Also, when they play, there will be no flag and no anthem.
With outrage across the footballing realm, FIFA sighed and took more serious measures.
And FIFA have now finally taken the decision. They've said in a statement, FIFA and UEFA have today decided together that all Russian teams, whether national representative teams or club teams, shall be suspended from participation in both FIFA and UEFA competitions until further notice.
Quite the fall from grace for Russian football, since they hosted the 2018 edition of the World Cup.
Russia is being told clearly that at present it is unwelcome in the world of sports.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.